Valanga Khoza, and I come from South Africa.
When did you come to Australia?
I came to Australia 23 years ago, so that was 1989, so it's a long time.
Yeah. What came you to realize your love for music?
Ben, it's really interesting because my love for music was based on trying to bring South Africa as close as possible to me, because as a refugee, not being able to live in South Africa after leaving South Africa because of apartheid, I wanted to bring the country closer and closer, so I started to do more South African music, and then it ended up being my way of making a living as well.
How has music influenced your life?
I think it's made me more aware of the history of South Africa, especially through the songs. I guess coming from South Africa, where people sing songs based on stories of their experiences, and the songs that I've heard, that I've come across, tell so many stories. Like Miriam Makeba, sings about life in South Africa, life in exile. Humour does the same thing as well. So, and you come across across people like Johnny Clegg as well, who sings about his life as well, like the life of being a white person, but at the same time being involved with black people, and that unifying element of that music has.
How do you feel a young child's experience of schooling in Australia is different to a child's experience of schooling in Africa?
Yeah, Ben, that's a very good question, because especially where I went to school, like I went to school in the north, in a village where we were required to wear school uniform. We couldn't even afford to buy school uniform. When you can't afford to buy food, you won't buy a uniform. You won't. No one could afford school textbooks, and we didn't even have classrooms. Like there was one classroom, and the rest of us would have classes under a tree. So you find that as a so-called underprivileged school in Australia, well, when you compare it to an African setting, it's extremely privileged, because it's got mostly all the accessories that a school will need. Whereas in Africa, and it's amazing because even up to this day, a lot of kids go without in terms of school textbooks, school uniforms, and school equipment as well, classroom equipment. It's so very, very different.
Why is ABCA, Australian Book for Children of Africa, so important?
I think the work that's being done by ABCA is a wonderful job. It's a wonderful job because, again, I tend to relate things to my personal experience. Growing up, going to a school where if you didn't have textbooks, you couldn't come to school sometimes, because you were required to have textbooks, they were required to study as well, to make education easily accessible to children in Africa who otherwise wouldn't be able to do anything. To me, it's almost like imagine somebody being in a situation where they have never seen Santa or Father Christmas, and to me it's almost like ABCA is Santa coming to these children basically in the form of books. To me it's like a miracle basically.
Do you think ABCA can make a difference?
Yeah, it can make a difference in that amongst those children who don't have a chance to go to school, when they get those books, when they get a chance to go to school, amongst those children there's probably future leaders of the community, of the country, even in the world. If you look at the fact that people like Mandela came from a basic village with him getting education through the help of an uncle who of course happened to come from a chieftaincy, from some form of a basic small kingdom. It gave him a chance to get education, and look, today we talk about Mandela having brought freedom to people in South Africa, and I think ABCA giving those kids a chance is planting the seeds for the future leaders.
What is your wish for the children of Africa?
My wish is for all the children to get as much of an opportunity that we get in the West, that children get in the West in terms of education. Not long ago, my wife and I brought kids from a village in South Africa, about 14 of them from around Guyana, you know, where cars couldn't even drive around that area because it was hard to drive along there. And when they came here and saw the kind of education, the kind of chances that kids have here, they went back and they were so motivated in terms of their education, realizing that one day we could bring up our country and bring it to that level, basically, you know, through education. So my wish for the children of Africa is that they get a chance to be educated, they get a chance to grow in education, and ABCA does give them that chance.
What can education, what can these books do for the children, for these children?
I'll give you an example, like a simple text. In fact, it's just like a simple novel can teach some, you know, let's say someone is learning how to read and write, or they're learning to speak English, which of course English is the international language nowadays. I remember when I came across a little novel, and I was in a country school, and that novel I read it, and it gave me such an understanding of English. And I remember one of my English teachers who took the novel from me and said, "Can I borrow it for a weekend?" And he was gone with it, and then he came back and he said to the whole class, and in fact they announced to the whole school, and he said, "Now I know why Valanga's English is getting better and better. I just took this book and I read it, and I would like everybody, if you come across little books like this, textbooks like this, or little novels like this, read them, because they will teach you English without you even realizing that you are being taught English. You are being taught how to read and write, how to be a better reader or how to be a better writer." I was amazed when I did that benefit for ABCA, where I was amazed at the amount of support from the people who came to that concert in support of the whole project. And I'm still waiting. And it's a pity I couldn't come to the last packing of the books that were being sent. But hopefully next time I'll be able to come to the next packing. But I was really impressed and amazed by the amount of support from lots of Australians and lots of ex-South Africans whom I call my brothers and sisters.